Meet Valentina Tereshkova, the Soviet cosmonaut who made history as the first woman to travel in space, spending over 70 hours orbiting the Earth. Fast forward to NASA's Sunita Williams, who braved a nail-biting moment aboard the Boeing Star liner before reaching the ISS last summer, only to end up staying in orbit for 9 months. Then there's Blue Origin's NS-31 crew, celebrated as the first all-female flight team since Tereshkova's iconic mission in 1963, inspiring young women worldwide. But here's where things get a little puzzling. During their time at the Kármán line, the NS-31 crew only filmed videos, sang, and expressed joy. Their experience aboard New Shepard seemed almost too smooth. Even their hair barely stood up, unlike what we've seen with astronauts like Williams. So why is Blue Origin calling them astronauts? That's a question that's ruffling feathers among aerospace experts. And they're not staying silent. Let's dive deep into the controversy in today's Techmap episode. In the summer of 2021, when Jeff Bezos announced he was heading to space on New Shepard's first passenger flight, a petition quickly surfaced asking that he not return to Earth. In less than a month, it racked up over 165,000 signatures. Of course, that didn't stop him. He returned safely and then went on to develop what's now known as his space tourism program. Yes, on a rocket that looks like, if you know, you know.
2, 1. We have liftoff. New Shepard cleared the tower.
And New Shepard has cleared the tower on our way to space with our first human crew. Go, Jeff. Go, Mark. Go, Wally. Go, Oliver. You are going to space.
Colonel, you better take a look at this radar.
What is it, son?
I don't know, sir, but it looks like a giant...
Dick!
Yeah.
Take a look out of starboard.
Oh my God, it looks like a huge...
Pecker!
Oh, yeah.
Fast forward 4 years, and his company, Blue Origin, has pulled off 11 human space flights, sending a total of 58 people into space. By most standards, the program's been a success. But what really got people talking wasn't the science or the milestones. It was the 11th flight, NS-31, which felt more like a publicity stunt than a step forward for space exploration. This suborbital trip featured an all-women crew, including pop star Katy Perry and Jeff Bezos' fiancée, Lauren Sanchez. And Blue Origin didn't hold back, promoting the mission as a major leap for space travel, with the exaggerated words such as, the first all-female flight crew since Valentina Tereshkova's solo spaceflight in 1963, creating lasting impact that will inspire people across our planet for generations, or uplifting so many on their historic journey toward the stars and back. Also, they call those 6 females the astronauts.
All 6 astronauts are going to start to feel the weightlessness, and shortly thereafter, we're going to let them unbuckle.
Even some female passengers on NS-31 did not hesitate to confirm it, emphasizing feminism when some called the flight a ride.
You are officially an astronaut.
Thank you so much.
How do you feel?
I feel super connected to love.
Number 3, please don't call it a ride. That is not a friggin' ride. Whenever a man goes up, you have never said to an astronaut, boy, what a ride. You know, we duplicated the same trajectory that Alan Shepard did back in the day, pretty much. No one called that a ride.
More ridiculously, after the 11-minute space mission, Katy Perry did something pretty bizarre. She emotionally kissed the ground. You'd think she'd been stranded in orbit for months like NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, not just floating in microgravity for 4 minutes. Even her hair didn't stand up like Sunita's did in space. Instead, it was displayed in a graceful manner. It kind of makes me wonder, did real NASA astronauts like Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams kiss the ground too after being stuck in space for 9 months? These PR stunts have caused backlash from the public and experts. Some comments popped off online. It's actually embarrassing that the media thinks the general public is stupid enough to deem these women as astronauts. If going to space for 3 minutes makes you an astronaut, then I'm a gynecologist. Meanwhile, Amazon workers are driving around in no AC vans pissing in water bottles. Actually, there are a lot. Secretary Sean Duffy posted a pretty long tweet talking about this matter. He argues that the NS-31 crew does not qualify as astronauts under FAA guidelines, which require crew members to perform activities essential to public safety or human spaceflight safety during the mission. The crew who flew to space this week on an automated flight by Blue Origin were brave and glam, but you cannot identify as an astronaut. They do not meet the FAA astronaut criteria, he wrote. To be honest, among those 6 passengers, only 2 are actual scientists, including Amanda Nguyen, who worked on the last NASA shuttle mission, STS-135, and the Kepler exoplanet mission, and a former NASA rocket scientist, namely Aisha Bohl. The other 4 were celebrities, with no relevant space qualifications. Blue Origin honors Lauren Sanchez for bringing the mission together and leading a team of explorers, but in fact, she has only experience in journalism and is a licensed helicopter pilot. There are well-defined standards that determine who qualifies as a real astronaut and what counts as actual spaceflight. For someone to be recognized as a true astronaut under the FAA guidelines, as Sean Duffy said, their presence on the mission must actively contribute to public safety or the overall safety of manned spaceflight. In other words, they can't just be along for the ride. The NS-31 crew on these so-called space flights didn't actually do anything meaningful. The only thing they do is record the videos and scream for joy. No. The real astronauts don't scream for joy due to being in space. The girls on the roller coaster do. They weren't part of a mission, and they didn't fly a real rocket in the traditional sense. Instead, they were just glamorized guests in a vehicle remotely piloted from the ground. Or in the literal words. Gayle King said calling her trip a ride was an insult to feminism. But in reality, she flew on a rocket built by a man and was remotely controlled by that man. It's so strange, huh? In general, she and her sisters are completely passive, in contrast to the image of active astronauts. So, what actually sets real space missions apart? They use real rockets with human involvement, not ones controlled remotely from the ground. It's not just a quick thrill ride. Real astronauts often spend days, weeks, or months in space, conducting crucial scientific research and taking on high-risk exploration tasks. They don't just skim the edge of space. Real missions go beyond the Kármán line by entering orbit. New Shepard, by comparison, only brushed the edge before dropping back down, barely higher than a typical commercial jet. It didn't achieve orbital flight. Achieving orbit, like what SpaceX's Dragon capsule does, demands much greater velocity than simply reaching the Kármán line. Orbiting means moving sideways around Earth at incredible speeds, something New Shepard never came close to. And then there's the so-called zero-gravity experience. Girls, I'm sorry to say this. The brief weightlessness you all felt was just free fall, similar to what you feel on a roller coaster or seesaw. The capsule goes way up and then it just falls. When it comes to re-entry, real spacecraft return scorched and sometimes beat up, burn marks, chipped tiles, even missing parts. But the capsule from this flight, according to critics, it came back clean as a whistle. That's not how real spacecraft look after re-entry. And perhaps the most eyebrow-raising detail, the capsule doors apparently opened with a doorknob, like your front door. That small detail left many wondering. Was this truly a spacecraft, or just a really expensive, really high-altitude amusement ride? If you want to see what a real space company looks like, take a look at SpaceX. In 2022 alone, SpaceX launched 61 rockets. That's more than one launch per week. In 2023, they broke that record with 96 launches in a single year. By the end of 2024, SpaceX had completed over 105 successful launches, leading global launch stats and leaving every other private and government space agency in the dust. Now compare that to Blue Origin. Over the same 3-year period, they launched just one rocket per year, and every single one was a suborbital New Shepard flight. No orbital missions, no satellite deployments, no crewed flights to the ISS. Just a few short, 11-minute hops above the Kármán line carrying wealthy passengers for a few minutes of free fall. That's not even close. While Blue Origin is busy putting on PR-heavy suborbital joyrides, SpaceX is building real space infrastructure. And on top of that, they're developing Starship, the most powerful rocket ever made. Starship isn't just another launch vehicle. It's a 2-stage, fully reusable system that can carry up to 150 metric tons of cargo to low Earth orbit, more than double the payload capacity of NASA's Saturn V, the rocket that sent astronauts to the Moon. Standing 120 meters tall, Starship is the tallest rocket ever built. It produces over 7,600 metric tons of thrust at liftoff, powered by 33 Raptor engines on the Super Heavy booster. That's more thrust than any rocket in history, including NASA's Space Launch System and even the legendary Saturn V. SpaceX has already launched 8 Starship test flights. In Flight 5, a record was made as the firm successfully caught a Super Heavy booster for the first time, a huge leap forward in the goal of full reusability. On Flight 7, SpaceX introduced the rocket's Block 2 hardware, a more advanced and powerful version. Nevertheless, the flight ended in a bang as usual when you release any major update. Flight 8 followed the same path, but again provided more valuable data for the company. And while not every flight has been perfect, each one has pushed development forward, testing everything from heat shields to stage separation, and even controlled descents. Their latest launches show major progress in reusability and high-altitude control. Meanwhile, Blue Origin's so-called orbital rocket, New Glenn, has been in development for years, with delay after delay. It was promised in 2016, but it did not take off for the first time until 2025. Let's be real, there's no comparison here. SpaceX is doing the real work, designing, building, testing, launching, and repeating at a pace no one else can touch. Blue Origin, on the other hand, is turning space into a luxury tourism business,